Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Aiken. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning, and we have a very exciting show in store for you today. In the 7 o'clock hour, we're going to be talking with the American Federation of Children, and this is in regards to that scholarship opportunity, a Freedom Scholarship from the One Big Beautiful Bill. We're going to learn all about it and what we need to do in New York to get the ball rolling. So that'll be in the 7 o'clock hour. All right, let's get right to it because we have quite a few viewer comments. Miss you a lot at my age. Breakfast is at 1 p.m. sharp. Question, okay, no problem. Question for our state representatives. Correction officers are made to give up their lunchtime by signature before getting appointments. Question is this even legal? Even if legal, why do we citizens allow it to happen? Don't know when this started. Historically, there was lunch breaks. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that. Next time we have a representative on, we will ask them what they know. Comment from a different viewer. If the Democrats didn't blatantly use all the media-backed dirty tricks and had an agenda that doesn't favor any particular group, I, like many other voters, would think about supporting them. But as long as they stay completely obtuse, Picasso painting view about everything under the sun and cheating at every level, my voting for them is not going to happen. Whatever happened to supporting the common working man? It's become all opposite. Upside down, expanded fringe minority citizens, rallying cries that everyone's supposed to be like Robin Hood to steal from the rich. Socialism is now the goal for them. Men and women's sports. Any person that lands here can vote. Making America great is a swear word. Abortion pills everywhere, including men. Putting them in women's drinks. That has been a news story. I could go on and on about all the crazy things Democrats are obsessed with. They can't be allowed to normalize the absurd any longer. I pray the Democrats wake up before we're all imprisoned for objecting to their motives. Thank you very much. Jack writes in and says, I think it's interesting that Kamala was able to get a hold of $1 billion in campaign funding. But now that all the corruption was exposed, their huge donations stopped. Coincidence? I don't think so. More evidence that the Democrats don't play fairly. Yeah, that is an interesting point because we know the Democratic National Convention Democratic National Committee is broke in debt. All right, couple breaking stories from yesterday. Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn won Thursday's Republican primary to become the next governor of Tennessee, according to the Associated Press and Decision Desk. Blackburn defeated two challengers in the contest, Representative John Rose and State Representative Monty Fritz. First elected in the U.S. House in 2002, Blackburn has been a reliable conservative voice for Republicans, and she's become the first woman to be elected to the U.S. Senate from the state in 2018. She was reelected to the seat in 2024. Full disclosure, interviewed Marsha Blackburn many years ago. Very nice lady. She campaigned on continuing Tennessee's economic growth, keeping taxes and prices low, and reducing unnecessary spending and regulations. The state added over 400,000 residents since 2020 and consistently rates as one of the top states for businesses. And how many people do we know, just anecdotally, personally, that have moved or are talking about moving to Tennessee? She maintained a steady lead in the polls leading up to the primary election. Blackburn said in December she wanted to make Tennessee the most conservative state in the country. Now, Blackburn will face Democrat nominee Jerry Green in the general election. He is a Memphis attorney. Blackburn is favored in the race, and her victory would leave her Senate seat vacant. According to Tennessee state law, the governor would appoint a successor until the 2028 general election to fill the remainder of the term. All right, there we go. Also, Trump signed two executive orders yesterday seeking to narrow birthright citizenship in several circumstances and intensify the federal crackdown on commercial birth tourism. Trump also is seeking to deny birthright citizenship for children born of some foreign diplomatic staff in the U.S. and potentially U.S. territories in the future. It's Trump's second attempt to curb birthright citizenship in the U.S. and is sure to be challenged in courts as a violation of the 14th Amendment, which guarantees citizenship to nearly everyone born in America. The U.S. Supreme Court back in June shot down a broader executive order Trump signed on Inauguration Day to deny automatic citizenship to those born of non-citizens in the U.S. Trump's administration argues, and this is coming from Axios, by the way, The Trump administration argues that the ruling still grants him the authority to limit birthright citizenship under long-standing expectations recognized by the court. The executive order applies only to future births tied to 4 categories. 1, children born of foreign diplomatic staff working on behalf of another government while in the U.S. The 14th Amendment doesn't confer automatic citizenship to ambassadors' families, and this order would expand that category to other non-citizen employees. 2, children of people who are classified as alien enemies, including those who belong to federally declared terrorist groups. The 14th Amendment doesn't apply to invading armies, and this designation would expand that category. 3, those born in U.S. territories, but only if Congress changes the law to end automatic citizenship there. A bill seeking to do that was introduced last month, but isn't expected to pass. This would apply most notably to those born in Puerto Rico. And finally, number 4, children born of mothers who expressly and deceptively enter the U.S. for the sole purpose of having a child here, namely at a birth tourism center. The order seeks to limit the use of surrogate mothers for this purpose as well. The administration argues that creating this birth tourism exception is permitted because of parents' fraudulent misrepresentation in gaining access to the United States. The government can revoke the citizenship of those naturalized by fraud. The new order says this exception now applies to a mother if she deceptively engages in the commercial practice of birth tourism. Now, the second executive order directs the Secretary of State and the Department of Homeland Security Secretary to issue rules and guidance to stop birth tourism and target the industry at home and abroad. U.S. laws already ban getting a tourism visa for the primary purpose of obtaining U.S. citizenship for a child by giving birth in the United States. Immigration officials also can deny a pregnant foreign national from entering the U.S. if they determine she's entering the country for the purpose of giving birth. Now, the House Oversight Committee is currently investigating birth tourism centers and may requested a host of documents from a company called Have My Baby in Miami. All right, there we go. That is an update. We're going to move fast this morning. We got a lot. Speaking of kind of this immigration policy, the Department of Justice is now offering a $3 billion, what they're calling Biden grant, to help local municipalities recoup their losses incurred by Joe Biden's destructive immigration policies. The grant, being called the Bridging Immigration-Related Deficits Experienced Nationwide Program, or Biden, is one of the biggest grant programs the DOJ has ever offered and is aimed at helping cities hire more police officers, upgrade technology, and build temporary detention facilities for illegal migrants. But there is one provision that is non-negotiable. The municipalities that apply for the grant must pledge to work with federal immigration authorities as they carry out federal immigration policies. So like in New York, where we told local law enforcement they can't work with ICE, that would not be the case. New York will not see, because of Governor Hochul, any of the $3 billion in Biden grants. The jurisdictions that apply must agree to fully participate in the ICE 287G partnership that links local law enforcement to ICE and other federal immigration enforcement agencies. So I guess unless someone in New York were to go against Hochul, we will not see any of these Biden grants. Associate Attorney General Stanley Woodward says this Department of Justice is committed to ensuring Biden-era border disaster never happens again. We are proud to once again champion law and order. The description of the program explains that the grant dollars are intended for locating and apprehending aliens who have committed a crime under federal, state, or local law, in addition to being unlawfully present in the United States. The DOJ also notes that some of the money may be expected to come back to the federal government as reimbursement for the costs associated with federal law enforcement intervention, should federal resources have to spend to reduce crime or public disorder related to immigration enforcement actions. There are no catches other than participation in the 287G program, and municipalities may spend the grant money however they wish. Now, it's already reported that 181 cities have applied for the grant. The Biden grant was established as part of the president's One Big Beautiful Budget Bill and allocates $3 billion up until September of 2028. Patrick Royal, spokesman for the National Sheriff's Association, said that the grants are a no-brainer, adding, quote, I can't see why people wouldn't take advantage of this opportunity to get more funding. That was a report by Warner Todd Hudson. Okay, we're moving fast this morning. Also reported yesterday, Mitch McConnell has been discharged from the hospital after nearly 2 months, but he's not returning to the Senate quite yet. He still has to heal at home. He said that he will continue to recover at home without immediately saying when he would return to the Senate. He said, Elaine and I are grateful for the many well wishes and support from friends, colleagues, and Kentuckians, and for the attentive care I've received from excellent doctors, nurses, therapists, and hospital staff. On the advice of my doctors, I'll maintain an intensive regimen of physical therapy from home during the state work period, and I'll continue to engage with my staff and colleagues on important Senate business. That means the former Republican leader will likely not be present to vote to confirm Todd Blanche, though McConnell has been voting by proxy in some committees. So we'll see what that means for Blanche in the long run. And of course, we know that there has been a lot of criticism. Some have speculated that he was no longer with us. We had that despicable bar that we keep mentioning. Why we shouldn't. I won't say their name, but that was going to give half off prices for a beer when it was announced that McConnell passed away, because their conspiracy theory was that he had passed away and they were waiting until after that certain date, where otherwise there would have had been a special election, something like that. So anyway, enough on that. All right, I want to get your opinion on Fauci. We've got quite a few things coming there. We are going to talk about the Democrat Party and the push towards socialism. Many have already said that it's too late. It's there, that the Democrat Socialists of America are running the Democrat Party. Others are saying not there quite yet, but it's getting close. They've had some major wins. They've had some major losses too, but they've had some major wins that puts them, in their mind, in the catbird seat, leading the party. Now, will establishment Democrats fight back? They're trying, in many cases losing. So they're calling them, as Speaker Johnson said, a kind of an army of mini Mom Donnies. We're going to talk about him as well. We have quite a few New York State updates as well. As I mentioned, we're going to talk to the American Federation of Children. An organization is going to tell you all about those freedom scholarships that were part of the Big Beautiful Bill and how we can take part in that here in New York State. So that'll be in the 7 o'clock hour. And since I'm going to do just a second of housekeeping, if you missed any of our interviews this week, it's been a very busy week. You can find them all on WYDCTV.com or on our YouTube page. We talked with Mark Watts from the Chemung County Fair on Monday. On Tuesday, we talked with former Congressman, current Assemblyman Joe Sempolinski. On Wednesday, we talked with Griffin Bates, the Steuben County historian, about the upcoming Steuben 250 celebration on September 5th. And yesterday, we talked to Rotary, Corning Rotary, as they get ready for Summer Feast coming up on October 15th. Now, next week, on Monday, we've got a few set in stone, not all of them. But on Monday, we're going to be talking with the director and a cast member from Young Frankenstein. That's being presented by Elmira Little Theater. We'll learn all about that on Monday. On Tuesday, we're going to talk with the authors of it's called President. I have trouble with it. Presidentess. It's another word, kind of, for First Lady. The life and First Lady of Julia Tyler, John Tyler's wife, the First Lady. It's by Christopher and Sharon Leahy, and we're going to have a lot of fun with them. It's a really interesting book, very historical, very well researched, so we'll have that on Tuesday. All right, stay with us. We're just getting started. Keep those waves, keep those comments coming in, and we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
You don't have time to go to the gym? The health club is not an option? Come to Hesselson today and see why swim spas and fitness systems can fit into anyone's yard and budget. 12-foot, 14-foot, 15-foot, 18-foot dual temperature hot tub and swim spas are all on display in Hesselson's indoor and outdoor showroom. Try before you buy. 0% interest-free financing options are available on every Hesselson swim spa. Swim and exercise year-round and start making every day better. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
I'm a veteran, and she was injured in the line of duty.
I hurt my leg in a training accident when she was only 2 years old.
She had 7 different surgeries over the span of 9 years, and there were tons of complications.
I couldn't be the mom my kids needed me to be.
She missed so much.
After my last surgery, I got an infection so bad I thought it was going to kill me.
I told her she couldn't leave me yet. There was still so much she had to see. I hadn't even graduated.
I'm doing much better now. I'm an active part of my kids' lives.
She can kick a mean soccer ball.
DAV's been there for me and my family. Through thick and thin, they've had our back.
Every year, DAV helps more than 1 million veterans like Sandy get the health and disability benefits they've earned so they can achieve victories great and small.
My victory is getting my life back. I may have lost my leg, but I've gained so much. I got my joy back.
We got our mom back, thanks to DAV.
Support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
Hello, I'm meteorologist Brandon Weathers. We'll track some potential for some thunderstorms through your afternoon and evening, some of which may produce some heavy downpours. High temperature ranging from 80 to 87 across the area, and then we'll bottom out in the mid to upper 60s. 85 on Saturday, 78 in the cooler spots, with some thunderstorms for your Saturday as well. Drying out during the daytime hours Sunday, but additional storms for an active period.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. So Dr. Anthony Fauci was held in contempt by a Senate panel after taking the fifth 111 times during that hearing. He could now face prosecution. This was in regards to the U.S.-funded gain-of-function research, his past testimony contradicting. The Senate Homeland Security Committee voted 8-5 along party lines to refer the former director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases for potential prosecution after invoking his First Amendment rights 111 times last week. The Department of Justice said, "We have received the document, we are reviewing it, and will work with the Senate accordingly." The contempt resolution authorizes Vice President J.D. Vance, the President of the Senate, to certify the Homeland Security Panel's report on Fauci to D.C. U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro. Now, we haven't heard if there's an issue with Pirro. I know there was some back and forth, but it seems to have quieted down. If convicted of a misdemeanor contempt charge, Fauci could face up to 1 year in prison and a $1,000 fine. Fauci appeared miserable as he took out the trash Thursday, hours after the contempt vote. Photos were taken by the New York Post, and his wife, Christine Grady, seemed to be pretty upset with the photographs being taken, and let's just say lifted up a certain finger towards the camera person. Committee Chairman Rand Paul and his fellow Republicans had planned to quiz the doctor on sketchy experiments at the Wuhan Institute, whether COVID-19 emerged from an accidental lab leak, and the scientific basis for controversial pandemic mitigation policies. By taking the fifth, Fauci was unable to answer even mundane questions, where they start to get like Josh Hawley asked him the color of his tie, the color of the carpet. Republican senators argue that Fauci's opening statement and the pardon he received from then-President Joe Biden for any potential crimes committed between January 2014 and January 2025 prevented him from being able to plead the fifth. Hawley noted that the assertion of a Fifth Amendment privilege only adheres to those instances where the witness has a reasonable fear of future prosecution, and it must be tailored to any such fear. Fauci faced no risk of federal prosecution. All he had to do was tell the truth. More than 100 times, though, he refused, said Rand Paul. The chair ruled that Dr. Fauci's assertion of the Fifth Amendment privilege was unsupported in light of the pardon and the testimony he offered in his opening statement. The chair directed Anthony Fauci to answer. He refused again. Democrats on the panel submitted motions to table the contempt resolution, including another offer of immunity for Fauci against federal prosecution if he agreed to testify in full, but GOP members on the panel rejected each. The opposition claimed that Fauci had no reason to fear prosecution, given Paul's repeated requests that the Justice Department investigate him for lying to Congress. Or he had reason. Did I say no reason? He had reason to fear. That was the Democrats' argument. Then we learned yesterday that he's been subpoenaed by 3 GOP state attorney generals for his alleged profiting off of COVID-19 guidance. Florida Attorney General James Utmeyer joined West Virginia Attorney General John McCuskey and Louisiana Attorney General Liz Muriel in requesting Fauci hand over records generated between 2020 and August of this year. And we also learned that they have his phone records. I believe it's the Senate has his phone records. Quote, government officials have a certain level of immunity in their official capacities. But if Fauci personally profited off the, quote, guidance he issued, that very well could have broken Florida law, Utmeyer said. Fauci's diary focused more on self-promotion than the legitimate safety concerns from the mRNA vaccines. While Fauci was pushing for book deals, awards, and fortune and fame, Floridians were being deceived and harmed by his misrepresentation. Murrell claimed what we already know is Fauci lied. We just don't know yet how much. But he lied about something as basic as keeping a diary. Yeah, his reputation is... Even CNN yesterday, we mentioned it yesterday on the program, even CNN's Stephen Collinson admitting that his legacy, if you will, has been tarnished a lot by those diaries. But again, the diary is written on a government computer, which is just more mind-boggling. But he was more than willing to basically show how he was lying and contradicting himself in the media as compared to what he thought in real life. Now, some of the things that we learn, Utmeyer said to Fox News, is that we're all really focused in on his self-dealing. Because one of the emails from his personal assistant, Patricia Conrad, cheered when he was awarded the Dan David Prize that, congratulations, you're rich. I want my 15%, they joked. The then NIAID director acknowledged receipt of the funds 1 month later. Utmeyer has claimed other awards, offers of named professorships and book deals, board positions, private foundation partnerships, and other personal and financial opportunities concurrent with the federal role and public recommendations impacting Florida are part of the probe on Fauci. Now, Senator Angela Also Brooks, a Democrat from Maryland, said that Rand Paul asking the Justice Department to prosecute Fauci was a clown show. Also, Brooks said, I think it's very clear that the Republicans are mastering the Jedi mind trick. The fact that they brought out of retirement 84, 85-year-old Dr. Fauci to try to accuse him of something instead of focusing on RFK Jr., the person who is presently causing harm to Americans. People are asking why they're in the emergency rooms, measles at the highest rates that we've seen in 35 years. The fact that we've canceled important research. Instead of focusing on what is causing harm right this second, what is making Americans sicker and, by the way, poor, they decided instead to do the Jedi mind trick. Twice they mentioned that. Into focusing on Dr. Fauci. So these people are so unserious. This clown show today was disgraceful, and I think Americans will be able to see through it. We are approaching midterms, and they hope that Americans focus on this mess rather than what they see with their own eyes and what they're experiencing in their households. The focus of this shouldn't be Dr. Fauci. The focus ought to be RFK Jr., the person they empowered to harm Americans. Okay. Now, I know I'm running a little bit late, but I want to move on from the Fauci segment of the program, if you don't mind, with one last piece. This is by Jonathan Turley. Appreciate Jonathan Turley, and I always like to hear what he has to say. He's on Fox News a lot. He's a professor of public interest law at George Washington University. He quoted Fauci as saying, today I'm the most famous and talked about person in the world. Those words from Fauci's diary are certainly true as the U.S. Senate Committee on Homeland Security and Government Affairs moves forward with holding him in contempt for refusing to answer over 100 questions about his past conduct and statements as a former head of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. The contempt vote will start a process that is fraught with political and legal challenges. Even putting aside the objections to the direct referral from the committee to the Justice Department, rather than submit the matter to a full Senate vote. There remain serious questions about whether Fauci can be held in contempt after invoking his right to remain silent. As I have stated previously, this area is rather murky, and Fauci likely has the advantage in any litigation, said Turley. At the outset, it is important to note that Fauci always faced the risk of perjury in his prior appearances. Even if immunized, a witness can always be prosecuted for false statements. Fauci is in a much stronger position today than he was in prior hearings due to the sweeping pardon that he received by Biden, yet he suddenly decided to remain silent when his own words came back to contradict him. Now for the legal questions. If a witness is immunized, they can be compelled to testify. If, for example, the Senate granted Fauci immunity, there would be little question about his answering these questions, as well as the ability to charge him for any false statements. The Senate committee is arguing that Biden's pardon had the same impact. Since Fauci cannot be prosecuted for any acts during the extended period of the pardon, going back to 2014 when the government allegedly funded gain-of-function research, Chairman Rand Paul did an excellent job in putting the issue into sharp relief in his final set of questions by framing his inquiry as confined to the period of his pardon. The argument is credible and for many compelling, since Fauci cannot be prosecuted for any conduct during that pardon period. He then has no legal exposure so long as he speaks truthfully. Now, this gets a little wonky. And really, I would recommend that you find it for yourself. It's at Fox News under the opinion section. But he said the right to do something does not make it the right thing to do. Fauci, in my view, was wrong to invoke the privilege against self-incrimination, even if it was his right to do so. Millions of Americans lost loved ones during the pandemic, and the United States had one of the worst records in dealing with COVID-19 in terms of cost and deaths. Fauci's diaries exposed disturbing contradictions between what he had previously stated publicly and what he actually believed. Americans have a right to know the truth, and Fauci was not saying a thing, invoking the privilege 111 times. He will say nothing to the families who lost loved ones or the business owners ruined by now debunked pandemic measures. He will say nothing to the scientists who were canceled, blacklisted, and fired for opposing these policies. Those scientists did not get the bobbleheads and celebrity photos that Fauci celebrated in his diaries. As the mob hounded them, Fauci said nothing as he gushed about his own fame in the diary. He will say nothing despite the protection of a presidential pardon. For that, he should be rightfully condemned. Fauci's contempt of Congress is challengeable, but his contempt for the public is undeniable. I thought that was such a good point by Jonathan Turley. All right, we got to take a short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
When it comes to fun, it's what we do. See Jefferson Starship take the stage with hits like Jane and many more. Tickets are just $20 and all sales benefit the Southern Tier Veteran Support Group. Tioga Downs Casino Resort. Fun is what we do.
Hi, I'm attorney Anna Zarpels from WYDC Injury Law. I'm not particularly athletic, but I am a big fan of sports and I'm hyper-competitive. I want to win at everything I do, and that includes getting my clients the best personal injury settlement possible. I'm a much better injury attorney than I am a hockey player, and there's no fee unless we win your case. Call 607-500-HURT for a free consultation.
Can you help me?
Mom, Dad, we're going out.
Thank you.
Oh, look, they're playing chess.
What you got there?
Will you help my mom?
She's real sick, huh? Hey, crew, I'll give the first move to anyone who signs up to be an organ donor. How do you do it?
Easy. Just go to organdonor.gov.
You heard them, organdonor.gov.
More donors means more hope. Sign up at organdonor.gov.
When it comes to fun, it's what we do. See Jefferson Starship take the stage with hits like Jane and many more. Tickets are just $20 and all sales benefit the Southern Tier Veteran Support Group. Tioga Downs Casino Resort.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio. So there's been this back and forth about, and we've talked about it extensively through the past, but more recently too, with the alleged leakers who talked about a missile shortage when it came to Iran. Well, Donald Trump has vowed to hunt down leakers. Remember, he's denied what they were saying. But that, again, I don't think a lot of times these leakers actually provide the factual information. I think they're pushing a narrative because they don't like Trump's agenda. We saw this a lot in Trump's first term. We're starting to see it, unfortunately, more frequently recently. But Donald Trump has vowed to hunt down the leakers. And the way this is presented is it's fact that the U.S. is suffering from a shortage of critical missiles. That has not been, that has been debunked by the president, but the media will not run it that way. The president said he would seek long prison sentences for figures who passed what he said treasonous statements to the media and insisted the U.S. had massive amounts of munitions. And that's what's frustrating about this, because the media and these leakers do not care what kind of damage it does to our armed forces, to our ultimate goal in Iran. It goes back to what I keep quoting and keep saying about the New York Times reporter who said that they did not want to see Iran, or did not want to see U.S. win in Iran because it would be politically beneficial to Trump. That's the media's mindset. So when they run with this, they want these leakers to make it sound like we're losing. They don't talk about any of the positives. They are only talking about the negative because they have a narrative. And at the end of the day, they don't care if we lose in Iran because they only care about the midterms and the power. How scary and deranged is that? Yesterday, President Trump wrote on Truth Social, saying the U.S. has massive amounts of munitions, especially of certain types. Additionally, large amounts are being manufactured and shipped to the U.S. as needed. Defense companies are building the largest numbers of plants and factories in our country's history. The leakers of these treasonous statements are being hunted down. Long-term jail sentences will be sought. Now, that comes off the heels of other leakers saying that, oh boy, Trump is mad at Pete Hegseth. He didn't like that those leakers exposed again, this is the media's bias, exposed the truth about the lack of munition. And he thought that problem was fixed, and he was very angry. There was a shouting match. I think it was at Camp David. I think they were reporting it. Well, he expressed yesterday his full-throated support for Pete Hegseth. A day after the report claimed the president accused the Pentagon chief of misleading him about the state of America's arms stockpile. I think he's actually one of the best, Trump said in an interview with NBC News. I'm very good at this stuff. He's a smart guy, Trump said of Hegseth. He's very much into it, respected by the military. Now, Trump reportedly fumed that munition shortages threaten to limit U.S. military options in Iran. Where are these leakers coming from? I mean, I know there's a lot of people in the room, but if this is a private meeting, so who is doing the leaking? I mean, I oftentimes think that leakers and these anonymous sources aren't even, I think they're fabricated. But if this instance, if it isn't, how many people in that room can you trust? Because there's got to be somebody that raises red flags, because there's people working, the deep state, as Trump used to call it, the swamp, working behind the scenes to stop the MAGA movement. Both the White House and the Pentagon denied the Washington Post report, with Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt declaring it baloney. She said something different. And War Department spokesman Sean Parnell calling it fictional. In a separate Truth Social post, Trump affirmed that he's extremely happy with the job that Pete Hegseth is doing. Everything has been extraordinary, including our attacks on Venezuela. Pete is highly respected within the military and has made tremendous improvements, including getting rid of DEI and increasing recruitment to historic levels. In an interview with NBC News, Trump was specifically asked about the possibility of replacing Hegseth with outgoing Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. He said, I like Ron, but Pete's doing a great job. I do like Ron. I get along very well with Ron. I could see Ron for something, but Pete's doing a great job. I just get along with Ron. I could see something happening there, but not with Pete. Pete's doing a great job. Speaking of that Venezuela, just quickly, I didn't mean to jump over that, but what was it? Who was it they're saying that they're trying to mislead on that too? And who was it? I mean, I'm not going to be able to find it. I might not have ended up printing it out. But someone suggesting that we're not just going after Venezuelans. It was really, oh, here it is. Oh, it was Tim Kaine, Hillary Clinton's running mate. Tim Kaine. He claimed the White House was lying about only striking designated narco-terrorists in the Caribbean Sea and the Eastern Pacific Ocean. The White House made a public statement that they are only designated narco-terrorist striking, and they're lying. I've been looking at every bit of this, from the original presidential directive in July to the legal option issued by the Department of Justice authorizing military operation in September to the Department of Defense's targeting criteria in October. All of this is classified, so I cannot really go into the contents, but I've reviewed all of it, and I've reviewed the strike files themselves. And when this administration says they are only striking designated narco-terrorists, I can tell you from a review of the record they're lying. And the one thing I can tell you about the targeting criteria is that that's not in the targeting criteria. And this stunned me when I finally was able to get it and review it. It's classified, I can't talk about it, but they're lying. Very convenient way for Tim Kaine to push another conspiracy theory, just like the media is pushing the conspiracy theories in Iran, and that everybody, again, they're trying to paint chaos behind the scenes of the Trump administration. That is always their common goal. We got a lot to talk about. I don't want to run too late. Let's take a short break. We're having fun. Keep those waves coming in. We got a good amount of waves, 12. How about some comments? A little quiet this morning. That's okay. It's a Friday morning. We're just getting warmed up. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Come celebrate the 207th Steuben County Fair from Monday, August 17th through Sunday, August 23rd. Wednesday, August 19th is Broken Bee Rodeo starting at 7 p.m. And there's more. Demolition derbies, monster truck show, games, rides, fun for the whole family. For tickets and information, visit SteubenCountyFair.org. Experience the Steuben County Fair from August 17th through the 23rd.
More cars, lower prices. Simmons Rockwell. Whether you're in the market for new, used, or certified pre-owned, Simmons Rockwell locations across the Twin Tiers have more of what you're looking for with our best price right on the windshield. Make car buying simple when you drive your deal at a Simmons Rockwell location near you, where you'll always find more cars at lower prices.
How we start a conversation matters. Text CONVO to 51550 for weekly conversation starters, and connect more with parenting.org from Boys Town.
Hello, I'm meteorologist Brandon Weathers. We'll track some potential for some thunderstorms through your afternoon and evening, some of which may produce some heavy downpours. High temperature ranging from 80 to 87 across the area, and then we'll bottom out in the mid to upper 60s. 85 on Saturday, 78 in the cooler spots, with some thunderstorms for your Saturday as well. Drying out during the daytime hours Sunday, but additional storms for an
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Mark writes in this morning. Good morning. Well, good morning, Mark. I see the FCC repeals national TV ownership cap. It's a win for the Trump-aligned broadcasters. Yes, the Federal Communications Commission scrapped the limit on broadcast TV ownership. There was a cap on the share of U.S. television households a single company can reach, which is a major move that could pave the way for more corporate consolidation in the media industry. In a 2-1 vote, the FCC repealed a 22-year-old rule holding that a company cannot own stations that reach more than a combined 39% of U.S. television audiences. The ownership limit will be replaced by a case-by-case approach. The decision to remove the cap has been widely expected. FCC Chairman Brendan Carr last month wrote an op-ed from the conservative news website Breitbart, calling the ownership limit an outdated policy that blocked local broadcasters from gaining the same scale that their competitors are free to enjoy. The cap no longer constrains the power of national programmers. Instead, it prevents local broadcasters from competing on a level playing field. The 39% cap has been in place since 2004, when Congress boosted a previous 35% limit set in the 1990s. The rule remained unaltered for more than 2 decades, partly because it is codified in federal law. Carr has contended that the FCC nonetheless has statutory authority to scrap the rule, a position that is likely to face legal pushbacks. This is coming from, it got cut off. I think Daniel Arkin writes, I think it's maybe CNBC? NBC News. Carr, there is going to be legal pushback. Free Press, a progressive consumer groups that have planned to sue over the FCC's unlawful power grab. Anna Gomez, the lone Democrat commissioner on the FCC, blasted the vote, calling it unlawful on its face. Eliminating the cap does not free local broadcasters from economic pressure. It just changes who is doing the squeezing. The large station groups positioned to grow even larger under this decision are not local broadcasters. They're national companies that own local stations and increasingly dictate what airs on them. The vote pitted Gomez against Carr and a third commissioner, Olivia Trusty, a Republican who was also appointed by Trump. The FCC's move delivers a win for a couple different organizations. But yes, thank you, Mark. I didn't know if I wasn't going to bring that up just because I think it's sometimes annoying when media brings up inside media things. So I didn't know if that would interest you, but I'm glad that you mentioned it, Mark. Okay, did you hear, and this is another, just like the Pete Hegseth thing we were talking about. Trump allegedly told donors, quote, "We need to elect JD." He told donors in a private he wants to see his vice president win the 2028 presidential election, a sign that he is open to publicly backing JD Vance, even as some advisors caution that Trump is yet to set firmly a successor. He said during an Oval Office meeting with donors roughly 2 weeks ago. Now, again, these are people who spoke on the condition of anonymity because they're not authorized to discuss the matter. So take it with a major grain of salt that's coming from the Washington Post. Quote, "At the end of the day, we need to elect JD." The private remark contrasts with Trump's rhetoric over the past year, publicly egging on a contest between Rubio and JD Vance. We've been having fun for months now on this program. Who would you pick? I would say it's pretty evenly split. I think most people would just be happy with a ticket either way. Rubio, Vance, Vance, Rubio. An official with knowledge of Trump's recent Vance-Rubio poll on Marine One, okay, doing his own poll, said anyone assuming it's a lock is just getting way ahead of themselves or just doesn't know the president very well. Now, Trump has now been forced to deny the report by the Washington Post. On Thursday in the Oval Office, a reporter asked Trump if the Washington Post story serves as his official endorsement for Vance. What a typical journalist trying to make this story really about themselves. No, the president responded, no, I heard about it a little while ago. I think he's great, but we're way too early to even be thinking about that, okay? Also in the Post report, it was noted that 6 other Trump world advisors and allies, however, cautioned that they aren't convinced the president has settled on Vance, noting that Trump tells different things to different people and could still change his mind. I would think he could change his mind. For heaven's sakes, it is August of 2026. In June, he pitched a potential partnership between Vance and Rubio, telling New York Post columnist Miranda Devine, quote, "They've been very talented. They're both great. While I like them both and I like them together, it would be great. I don't know how you beat them if they're together. That would be a great team. JD and Marco would be a great team." And I like that media has to put, Trump has also been sure not to count himself out, frequently joking about unconstitutionally running for a third term. Make sure you get that in there. I'm going to do it again, he boasted to an audience during the White House Correspondents' Dinner. It should be easy. I'm going to be very good at running for president. We're going to talk about JD Vance because there's this controversy that he fat-shamed somebody. But your thoughts. We can do this again. Your thoughts. Rubio, Vance, somebody else. Tucker Carlson. We had that conversation yesterday. Yes, Tucker Carlson actually did release his 10 points to, I guess, this party platform. We'll talk about it. I don't want to give them too much publicity, but I think it's worth asking if you really think that's a platform you would stand with. As I said, coming up in a little bit, we'll talk with American Federation of Children. One of their, I can't remember the exact title, but one of their members, he's going to tell us about this Freedom Scholarship and how New York can take advantage of this federal money, where Governor Hochul, and I mentioned it on yesterday's program, Governor Hochul has verbally agreed to it, but has not sent in the paperwork. And what's important about this is now the teachers' unions are going full attack mode against her. See, the teachers' unions don't like competition, actually having a potential for students to get a better education, for students to actually do well. It speaks volumes about the teachers' union. It really does, and what they think of their teachers. But we're going to learn all about that with the American Federation of Children. As I said, Monday, we're going to be learning about the Elmira Little Theater production of Young Frankenstein, that classic Mel Brooks. We all know the movie. This is actually the musical version which Mel Brooks created. So it's got the same humor and the same fun as Mel Brooks' original Young Frankenstein, the movie, which is such a classic. On Tuesday, we're going to learn about the former First Lady, Julia Tyler. The book is the really first full biography of Julia Tyler. It's written by Christopher. It's a husband and wife team of historians, Christopher and Sharon Leahy, and it's called Presidentess. So we'll talk with them on Tuesday. Keep those comments, keep those waves coming in, and we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox will be right back.
I had to pack up all my things. I had to leave my home. And I never knew where I was going next. It felt like I never even had a say. But then you came along.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you. Learn how you can help at nationalcasagal.org.
One big day of smooth jazz awaits you at the Ferrario Elmira Jazz Festival. Join us at Thorne Street Park Saturday, August 15th for chart-topping jazz keyboardist Brian Simpson and soprano saxophonist Marion Meadows with local favorite Top Shelf. Celebrate with us. Tickets only $42. It's one big day. Buy tickets at ElmiraJazzFestival.com. Brian, Marion, and Top Shelf. One big day.
It's more than music! When a child is fighting a critical illness, one truth touches us all. Every child deserves a childhood. A wish sparks a ripple of hope that transforms communities far and wide. And when we grant wishes together, we create a movement of kindness, strength, and unity. Become a wish maker today and be part of a journey that truly
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Comment from Fred. Fred writes in this morning, says, "Good morning, Frank," and I say, "Good morning, Fred. Dr. Fauci is truly a piece of human garbage for what he put this country through, no doubt. But what about his entire 40-some years of, quote, public service? And let's not forget the, quote, public servants in the House, Senate, and all government agencies who have oversight authority of our entire healthcare and nutrition system. They have been in charge for decades as our health and education system have declined to deliver the worst results in the world. Thank God for what Secretary Kennedy is doing to shake up a totally broken system and for President Trump for giving him the opportunity." Thank you, Fred. I do appreciate that. Ken writes in, "Did you know that Fauci's pension is about $400,000 a year? That's $1,096 a day. It is the highest pension ever received by any federal employee. It makes me wonder what secrets he is forbidden to disclose to receive such a ludicrous amount." That's a very fair point, Ken. And then a viewer brought this to my attention. Senate Agricultural Committee Democrats rejected a GOP-led farm bill Thursday in a vote that highlights deep partisan divisions over nutrition aid cuts and leaves Congress without a clear path toward reauthorizing the long overdue bill. This is coming from Politico. Chairman John Boozman recessed the panel indefinitely after the 10-11 vote, meaning that he can call members back to revisit the bill at any point, including in September after the chamber's August break. Democrats stood united against Boozman's package, sticking to their demand for a 2-year delay to Republicans' requirements. The states share the cost of providing SNAP, Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program benefits. All right. Republicans need at least one Democrat vote to advance the bill due to the absence of Senator Mitch McConnell. Boozman accused Democrats of holding SNAP participants hostage and holding our farmers hostage. I want to be clear. A 2-year delay does not have the support of the majority in Congress or the White House. The offer before you is the best, and it's the final offer. Senate Majority Leader John Thune defended Boozman's offer, saying the chairman fought as hard as he could. The proposal is in front of us, gives everybody another year to do this, and saves some states in this room a whole lot of money. All right. There you go. So that's the farm bill. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. Do I want to? Okay. Oh, a quick thing. We're going to take a break because I don't want to run late, and I don't want to get into this J.D. Vance burrito story without really having time to dive into it. But I want to remind you, we had Michael Volino on, the Steuben County legislator, last week I believe it was, and he told us about the Sludge War documentary that will be airing, a special screening. Well, I wanted to remind you, if that's something that interests you, the Sludge War documentary tour will be at Campbell Savona High School on the 8th. What is that, tomorrow? Saturday at 4 p.m. All right, there we go. Let's take that short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
Don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Watch news from the Twin Tiers and catch local events on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Let me ask you a question. Does it matter if the law firm you hire focuses on motor vehicle accidents? Has the experience to take on big insurance? Will go to court to win? Has won over $1 billion for their clients? If that matters to you, come to William Mattar. We are the largest motor vehicle accident firm in the state. Call William Mattar for the recovery you deserve. Hurt in a car, it matters who you hire.
When I have an asthma attack, I feel scared. Sometimes my parents have to take me to the hospital. I feel like a fish with no water.
You know how to react to their asthma attacks. Here's how to prevent them. Because even one attack is one too many.
Hello, I'm meteorologist Brandon Weathers. We'll track some potential for some thunderstorms through your afternoon and evening, some of which may produce some heavy downpours. High temperature ranging from 80 to 87 across the area, and then we'll bottom out in the mid to upper 60s. 85 on Saturday, 78 in the cooler spots, with some thunderstorms for your Saturday as well. Drying out during the daytime hours Sunday, but additional storms for an active.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security need. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. So Vice President J.D. Vance, quote, fat-shamed a conservative columnist who publicly mocked Zoomers, the Zoom generation, for complaining about burritos costing $20. They say it's a return to his old internet brawling ways. After a months-long hiatus, Washington Post columnist Mark Thiessen, who is known to have President Trump's ear and frequently accused Vance of undermining him on Iran. What? Who is known to have President Trump's ear and frequently accused Vance of undermining him on Iran. Oh, I see. That was worded strange. So Thiessen believes that Vance was undermining Trump. I see. He told students complaining about the high cost of a burrito to, quote, cry me a river. Thiessen said the burritos in the college cafeteria are included in your meal plan. This is in response to a piece at Turning Point USA, a discussion about college students complaining about the price. J.D. Vance replied to the cry me a river, the burritos on the college cafeteria included in your meal comment, saying, this is J.D. Vance, I'm surprised to hear Mark say this. If you've ever met him in person, it's quite obvious the man has never missed a burrito. Okay. Yikes. I'm looking at him. He's not a heavy guy. Anyway, then they go through the whole history of the cost of a burrito, for heaven's sakes. But early on in Trump's administration, Vance had a reputation for getting into a lot of social media fights with random people and big names alike. But that kind of went away. Excuse me. So I don't want to go through all this. But about his past history of being kind of a troll But now, of course, that has led to articles, which we'll talk about in the next hour, insults, expletives, and fat shaming. Vance trolls critics on the right and left. And then Isaac Shore has a theory on it, too. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. Don't worry. But it's worth having on your radar. We'll put it that way. Well, let's talk about the one from Peter Baker. It was hardly the first time that someone on social media called someone else fat, but it may have been the first time that a vice president of the United States did so. Peeved at a conservative columnist who criticized his position on Iran, Vice President J.D. Vance jabbed on Wednesday at his physical appearance. In an era where playground insults pass for political dialogue, few have leaped into the online flame wars with more gusto than Vance. The first millennial vice president has long dispensed with the decorum and restraint of his older predecessors to go after the, quote, idiots and scumbags who anger him, from the limousine socialists on the left to the disgraceful conservatives on the right. He works, of course, for the master of the personal put-down, and perhaps that explains Vance's emergence as one of the administration's chief trolls. But even if he hopes to impress Trump, Vance also appears to have a natural appetite for conflict. The product of a generation that grew up with gladiatorial political instincts. It is not enough that someone else may be wrong about policy or politics. They must be stupid, vile, or yes, even overweight. Vance's willingness publicly to disparage others in personal terms stands apart from the behavior of modern vice presidents during the last half century. I'm not going into this. Anyway. This is a 7-page, probably 8 pages from the Washington Times, right? Is it the Times? No, New York Times. Excuse me. What am I saying? New York Times. So that is what fills the pages of the New York Times and is so important that, well, here we go. Mr. Thiessen did not respond to a message request and comment, and Vance's office declined to elaborate. An ally of the vice president said the columnist had it coming. It's neither appropriate nor constructive for self-described Republican commentators like Mark Thiessen, who earns an absurd living promoting war after war on television, to use their platforms to dismiss the economic anxieties of young people. I support elected officials who speak the truth. The vice president was right. Mark Thiessen appears to be severely obese. He should lay off the burritos. But don't expect Mr. Vance to lay off the social media. What? So, serious obese? Am I missing a... I know everybody and their brother is probably, a little overweight. I don't know. Whatever. But I'm going to tie this in and ask you the question. Isaac Shore says the GOP has wrapped itself in a silly burrito beef while ignoring cheesed-off voters. We're going to get your opinion on that when we return. Then we do have some New York State updates, and unfortunately, they're not good news. In the 7 o'clock hour, we're going to talk about American Federation of Children and the work they're doing for these freedom scholarships. That if a state opts in, it's a lot of money for kids in private schools, charter schools, but also public schools to help them financially. So we're going to learn about that in the 7 o'clock hour, so you won't want to miss that. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, hour number 2, coming up next.
Get ready for the 185th Chemung County Fair. 5 days of family fun. August 4th through August 8th at the Chemung County Fairgrounds in Horseheads. Experience thrilling rides, exciting games, and captivating livestock shows. Taste delicious fair food and explore local vendors. Rust and Fright Concert August 4th. Tractor Pull August 5th. Rodeo August 6th. Truck Pull August 7th. Demolition Derby August 8th. Join us for the 185th Chemung County Fair, where tradition meets excitement. Visit ChemungCountyFair.com for tickets and details.
Big day of smooth jazz awaits you at the Ferrario Elmira Jazz Festival. Join us at Thorne Street Park Saturday, August 15th for chart-topping jazz keyboardist Brian Simpson and soprano saxophonist Marion Meadows with local favorite Top Shelf. Celebrate with us. Tickets only $42. It's one big day. Buy tickets at ElmiraJazzFestival.com. Brian, Marion, and Top Shelf. One big day.
It's more than music.
Tide isn't just a gentle ebb and flow. It's a mighty force of change. Just like the tide shapes our shorelines, we can shape our planet's future and protect the world's oceans from its biggest threats. help us turn the tide. Join Oceana's wave of ocean advocates who are making a difference in the world.
And we welcome you to hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. We've covered a lot this morning. If you are just joining us, we're talking about the headline that J.D. Vance, the Vice President of the United States, and as the New York Times was basically putting it, unbecoming of the Vice President, fat-shamed a conservative reporter. Whatever you think about the story, it's really a non-scandal, but the New York Times spent probably 7-8 pages of print to bring the information to you and give you past history of vice presidents. But Isaac Shore, and I bring this up because I want to get your opinion on Isaac Shore's thoughts. The mouth-watering next front in the war for control over the post-Trump Republican Party has revealed itself. The burrito. And its combatants have proven more bloodthirsty than beans and rice crazy. The carnage begins after Andrew Kolvat of Turning Point USA weighed in on the ongoing affordability crisis that dominated American politics since the Biden years by noting that one student recently asserted that the tortilla wrap treat shouldn't cost $20 a pop. Yeah, a lot of this is a hangover from COVID and Biden-era inflation, but the lived experience is the same. It just feels like basic things cost too much. Conservative Twitter exploded. Ben Shapiro assured the youth a burrito does not cost $20 and remarked that if you're paying $20 for a burrito and you're not independently wealthy, you're doing life wrong. That compelled the Federalist Sean Davis to characterize the current neocon war inflation messages as ruling fast food burritos out for the lower and middle class. Elsewhere, Matt Walsh took exception with the Babylon Bee's Joel Berry over the observation that his wife had furnished enough burritos for the family of 8 with less than $20. And this is getting a little too much. And then, of course, we have J.D. Vance picking on that reporter. It ought to go without saying, but everybody participating in the great conservative burrito war of 2026 is losing it. Not because the underlying issue fueling it are silly, but because the rights leading right are too busy. She's trying to get too fancy with her wordplay here, but they're too busy taking pot shots at each other to get down to the business of actually governing. Republicans won the White House and both chambers of Congress 2 years ago, largely because voters blamed Biden's pandemic-era spending spree for the sky-high price tags that followed. The $20 burrito is merely a symbol of the inflationary anchor that's been tied around America's ankles. And while the rate at which the prices of home, food, and other essentials skyrocketed may have decreased in recent years, the actual prices themselves never came down. To extend the metaphor, if the burrito that cost $10 2 years ago and $18 last year costs $20 now, you can't exactly expect their consumers to celebrate, even though significant progress has been made. So while some Americans' refusal to live within their means has compounded the cost of living crisis and its ill effects, conservatives eager to casually dismiss voters' concerns aren't just wrong on the merits, they're cruising for an electoral bruising. For his part, President Trump recognized the war on inflation as his chief mandate at the outset of his second term. And we can go through all this with tariffs and et cetera, et cetera. But the idea is, let's focus on the important, underlining message in this. And it is inflation that was caused by Biden, but it's still being dealt with. Surely there's a way to take this fact pattern. Life is too expensive. Government should do what it can to make it more affordable, mostly by getting out of the way. And Americans can take pressure off themselves in the meantime and craft a much-needed political agenda and message around it. But instead of getting to work, the right is fighting a proxy battle over the direction of the GOP come 2028, while still in control of the entire federal government. At once denying the fire exists and then pouring gasoline on it. Ask former President Biden, former Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries how that worked out for them. Worth mentioning. All right, yesterday we had quite the lengthy discussion about Tucker Carlson, and it's arguably a waste of time. Tucker Carlson, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Thomas Massey, and others had formed. It was kind of in the past, it would have been the Never Trumpers. This is their own third party. They're in the process of forming it. It's a joke. As everybody said yesterday, they would not support Tucker Carlson. Well, he used a highly promoted live stream to unveil a 10-point vision for America, defining the worldview of a breakaway MAGA faction, increasing the odds with President Trump. I don't know how he or the media can keep saying, and this is coming from Axios, that Tucker and Marjorie Taylor Greene, Thomas Massey are some type of MAGA faction. They're their own thing. MAGA is owned by Trump, whether they like it or not. But why it matters. After vowing last month to help build a third party, Tucker fueled further speculation by hosting the MAGA Dissidents, where they urged him to run for president in 2028. Tucker Carlson, run for president in 2028. The former Fox News host stopped short of a formal launch, instead presenting the manifesto as the foundation for whatever comes next. So he loves this attention. And remember, Tucker Carlson's always been about Tucker Carlson. Carlson said any successor to America's faltering political system should begin with a shared understanding of what the country should be, which he distilled into 10 points. Pardon me if you don't want to hear them, but I'm going to read them real quick. 1, fair. The same rules should apply to presidents, federal agents, and elites such as Jeffrey Epstein, whose impunity Tucker cast as emblematic of the Epstein class, enriching itself through a corrupt system. 2, sovereign. Tucker claimed Israel pushed the U.S. into the Iran war through bribery or threat or both, while describing foreign lobbying, corporate control of government, and high-interest debt as forms of slavery. 3, productive. America should rebuild farming, manufacturing, and craftsmanship while rejecting an economy dominated by finance, real estate speculation, surveillance systems, and weapons. 4, beautiful. Tucker alleged that urban planners deliberately uglified American cities and portrayed brutalist architecture, graffiti, public drug use, and violent crime as deliberate attacks on the public. 5, healthy. Tucker embraced RFK Jr.'s food agenda, calling for universal sobriety, and said widespread use of drugs such as Xanax, Adderall, and others have left Americans half-addled. 6, honest. Government officials should be punished for lying to citizens, and most classified records, including on the JFK assassination and 9/11, should be open. 7, optimistic. Tucker argued that having children is a biological imperative and the foundation of long-term thinking, while blaming aging and childless elites for policies that disregard future generations. 8, wise. Schools should teach how the physical world actually works and what he called unchanging facts about human nature, including innate differences between men and women, rather than credentials, screens, and technological fads. 9, decent. The U.S. should apologize and pay restitution for killing non-combatants, reverse Trump's Department of War, rebrand, and stop funding allies that commit what Tucker called genocide, citing, you guessed it, Israel. Yeah, the anti-Semitism. United. Tucker called for halting immigration until the effects of AI become clear, ending benefits for undocumented immigrants, and making English the sole language of federal documents and ballots. Now listen to what Axios says. Tucker's become the intellectual hub for a small but vocal faction of MAGA exiles who say Trump abandoned the America First agenda. The loose group includes Marjorie Taylor Greene, Thomas Massey, and Joe Kent. Again, Joe Kent is a nobody. These people are nobodies. And the fact of the matter is they're being given this platform because the media, Axios and others, the mainstream media, want to portray this kind of chaos in the MAGA movement. It kind of became a joke on this program, though it is serious. But how many times through Trump's second term now have we had an article that MAGA has turned on Trump? And it was over silly things at some point. Trump has lost MAGA. Trump has lost his voters. And sometimes you'd read the reason why, and it made absolutely no sense. But that's what they're trying to plant ahead of the midterms, but also ahead of the presidential race. So there you go. Just as an update from yesterday. Now we've got to move on and talk about DSA. First of all, squad-backed Tennessee State Representative Justin Pearson, part of the trio of lawmakers in the state referred to as the Tennessee Three, won the Democratic primary Tuesday in Tennessee's newly redrawn 9th Congressional District. So supported by the squad, AOC rallied with him, so another win for the Democrat Socialists of America. He received support from national left-wing groups, including Justice Democrats, the Working Families Party, Move On, and Indivisible. Now, Pearson rose to national prominence in 2023 as one of the Tennessee 3 lawmakers who participated in a gun control protest on the state house floor following the Covenant school shooting in Nashville that killed 3 young kids and 3 adults. So what they're calling it is the Mamdani wave, and it's sweeping, according to, what outlet is this? Luis Gansel. The Mamdani wave sweeps the U.S. as Abdul al-Saad aims to become the first Muslim senator. The Democrat primary victory of the physician, son of Egyptian immigrants and staunch critic of Israel, displays the growing strength of the party's progressive wing. Following in the footsteps of Zohran Mamdani, they're committed to issues such as the struggle of the working class, baloney, in a country. I'm not going to read any more of the article. I mean, it's clearly a biased article, but they're just calling it the Mamdani wave. Will that wave hold on through November? That is the big question. But as of right now, according to the New York Times, moderate Democrats are preparing for what they call war against this Democrat Socialists of America wing, I would say leaders of the Democrat Party. One moderate group says the progressive winds are deeply troubling and is planning a $15 million effort against Democrat socialism. Some strategists urgently press to adopt a sharper edge to tap into the fury among Democrat voters that was felling its centrist candidates. Others wanted to attack Democrat socialism, undercutting a budding movement now set to have far more than a toehold in the next Congress. Yet another young Democrat socialist ousted an incumbent congressman in Detroit on Tuesday. Jonathan Cohen, the president of Third Way, a leading centrist Democrat group, said, "We are preparing for the next war that is coming." Talking about a new $15 million effort between now and 2028 to discredit Democrat socialism. Al-Assad's win was not the blowout that some pre-election polls had predicted, but his narrow nomination in one of the country's signature swing states still represented a critical moment for the party's middle, which had previously sought to cast the far-left secession as contained within the country's most urban and liberal corridors. Their fear? Al-Assad was paving a way for a progressive to seize the party's presidential nomination in 2028 and then go on to lose the general election. It's deeply troubling to see radical far-left candidates winning in places that are potentially presidential swing states. Most party leaders, from Governor Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan to Chuck Schumer of New York to former Vice President Kamala Harris, quickly embraced al-Assad's Senate candidacy, given the stakes of the Michigan seat at play. But some moderates see the emerging left as a danger. Well, this is what the problem is, and that's fine, this small group of moderate Democrats that are concerned about the rise in socialism. But let's face it, it's been the party leaders that have embraced these socialists because they've been scared of challengers. Governor Hochul has done it. We hear Gretchen Whitmer embrace them, Schumer embracing them because he's concerned he might lose his Senate seat. You've got Kamala Harris who's thinking about running again in 2028. So they all caved. They've all caved to the far left. For now, the next big test is only a week away in Wisconsin. We're going to talk about her again, Francisca Hong, the one that wants to, well, the one that hates not Texas, the one that hates Thanksgiving. A Democrat socialist and state assemblywoman representing the progressive hotbed of Madison has emerged as the party's frontrunner for governor in another key battleground state. Mr. Cohen said that $15 million his group would spend through 2028 was not directed at individual candidates. Instead, the group plans to target the Democrat Socialists of America movement, which he believes poses a mortal danger for Democrats. He said the efforts would include opposition research into DSA, polling, social media programs, and educating Democrat activists and leaders. It would target both proud Democrat socialists and those such as Dr. Al-Assad, whom he decried as performing the DSA dodge, flirting with Democrat socialism enough to get their organization manpower and support while remaining distant enough to avoid the explicit label. I don't know how they can say that when he had that piker campaigning with him. Centrist Democrats say their purpose is to make progressives understand the risks of some of the more radical planks of the official DSA platform. Defunding the Department of War, taking steps toward fully abolishing the police and prison system, enacting reparations, and establishing a 32-hour work week. The upside of being associated with more extreme movements is you get attention and real and perceived energy and outsider status. Liam Kerr, the co-founder of another centrist group called Welcome Pack, said. Anyway, you get the idea. They're starting to finally get concerned. they're finally starting to get worried, but it's too little too late. Your party's caved to the Democrat Socialists from the beginning. Look, Gavin Newsom embraces al-Assad. We're going to talk more about this when we return. I realize I'm running a little bit late. Don't worry, we're going to hear from the American Federation of Children in not too much longer. So stay with us. We'll be right back after this.
At William Mattar, they only handle motor vehicle accident cases.
I'm not going to take any lowball offers.
There's nothing William loves more than fighting for his clients and giving them the big money they deserve.
Okay, wow.
But everyone needs an outlet, a chance to get away from it all.
Heads bowed, eyes closed, and now go to your happy place.
Rideshare truck, motorcycle, car, only call William Mattar.
Yeah, hello. I'm really not sure if this is what you all do, but I really don't have anywhere else to turn.
Hi. I don't even know why I'm calling right now. I'm sorry. My thoughts are going a mile a minute.
My kids are out of state. My buddies from the army are all gone now. I'm really alone.
I left the service last year. My mom just passed away a few months ago. I miss so much time with her. I keep getting calls about the bills, and I'm trying to get a job, but I feel so stuck.
Okay, ma'am. I'm glad you called.
Okay, sir. Let's stay on the line and walk through some things.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm meteorologist Brandon Weathers. We'll track some potential for some thunderstorms through your afternoon and evening, some of which may produce some heavy downpours. High temperature ranging from 80 to 87 across the area, and then we'll bottom out in the mid to upper 60s. 85 on Saturday, 78 in the cooler spots, with some thunderstorms for your Saturday as well. Drying out during the daytime hours Sunday, but additional storms for an active period.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. A couple comments. I think I counted that wave. A couple comments from viewers. Was inflation caused by Biden or was it Fauci? Well, combination. Yeah, good point, though. I think, let me see here. Oh, after listening to your comments about Vice President Vance earlier, Jack believes he's the right person to carry the torch after President Trump. He has the presence, wisdom, charisma, and mental toughness for the job. Being married to an Indian American also gives him a broader appeal in today's political landscape. He seems well positioned to step into the role seamlessly and could potentially build on the successes of the Trump administration. Thank you, Jack. I appreciate that. One pro, we don't have to do the tally, but that's pro Vance on that one. I like it. So Gavin Newsom rushed to embrace Abdul al-Assad. John Fleischman at the New York Post said it made him sick to his stomach. As soon as al-Assad was declared the victory, Newsom endorsed him. And now, just days later, California's governor is preparing to head to Michigan for a multi-day campaign swing supporting the Democrat ticket. Is Gavin Newsom that popular? I mean, even in the recent pollings for president, he hasn't been doing that well. The trip reportedly was planned before the primary, fair enough. But Newsom's embrace of al-Assad without a word of qualification with no apparent concern about the radical positions his party's newest Senate nominee has taken towards Jews and towards Israel. Al-Assad has repeatedly refused to affirm that Israel has a right to exist as a Jewish state. Asked whether Israel has a right to exist, al-Assad would not say yes. Instead, he dismissed the question as a gotcha game. He also said that every definition of a Jewish state involves some form of illiberal values. He calls Israel's conduct in Gaza genocide and apartheid. He has put the Israeli government on the same moral plane as Hamas and wants American military assistance to Israel ended, including purely defensive weapons like Iron Dome, which protects civilians from terror. Anyway, I'm not going to go through any more of this, but Gavin Newsom embraced him. Chuck Schumer as well. Chuck Schumer strongly backed Abdul al-Assad after the progressive candidate's slim victory, vowing that the Democrat approach is the big tent approach, as inter-party feuds have been taking over. Yeah, pretty pathetic that Schumer would embrace someone who has said that Israel doesn't have a right to exist. But what people don't understand is that a big tent is a strength, not a weakness. It's how you build a majority. And this was the same talking point that Ken Martin, the head of the DNC, which I know David Hogg is trying to oust him right now. But Ken Martin said the same thing when asked about, I think it was Mamdani's anti-Semitism. He said, hey, we're big tent. Essentially saying anti-Semites, come along. So again, these are the people that have placated and coddled the socialists, and now they wonder why socialists are taking over their party. Because Chuck Schumer may endorse him, but when push comes to shove, these Democrat Socialists of America are not going to support Chuck Schumer. And if an AOC runs against him or a Mamdani runs against him, guess what? And I know he thinks that they won't if he's friendly. That's not how the Democrat Socialists of America work, because they're turning on each other. Because if someone's 99% Democrat Socialist of America, that's not enough. They have to be 100. But it's the big tent. That's all they have to say. Our candidates are not all the same, Schumer said, but they have one shared mission: winning the Senate and delivering for working families. He's hoping to stay in leadership position. It's not going to happen, Chuck. We have a darn good chance to take back the Senate. Schumer has become a lightning rod in some Democrat primary races, as many progressive candidates accuse him of putting his thumb on the scale to back moderate candidates who tend to be older and more pro-Israel. Unbelievable. No, it's pretty acceptable. I mean, expected. If you think about it, whether it's Chuck Schumer, whether it's Governor Hochul, they're scared to death. And all they care about at the end of the day is their power, and they don't want the DSA to turn on them. Look, listen to this. Representative Hallie Stevens discussed throwing her support behind al-Assad and responded to a question on her prior comments that he doesn't recognize Israel's right to exist. So this was Major Garrett at CBS saying during the primary, some things did come up that really cut very close to voters in Michigan. One of them is what happened in March of 2026 when a truck loaded with gasoline plowed into the Temple Israel in West Bloomfield Township. And you told Ed O'Keefe that Abdul al-Assad's reaction to that was problematic for you. It was problematic for a lot of Michiganders, however you say that. And you said he doesn't recognize Israel's right to exist. Those seem to me, Hallie Stevens, to cut very close to the bone. They're not the typical political conversation issue. Have you resolved where al-Assad stands on those issues? And when he said, as he did yesterday, that his priority for Jewish Michiganders is just as much as it is to protect his own children, do you believe him? Stevens said, well, look, I don't speak for Abdul. That's a nice cop-out. But I think he knows where I stood on that issue and where I continue to stand. I'm very focused on rebuilding the temple where many of my friends have their precious children in day school. This was in my congressional district. It remains a serious matter. And I'm going to make sure that the voices and the folks who have been impacted all across Oakland County by the temple bombing and the voices of our Jewish community are heard. And I'm going to do that in the way that my involvement and participation. Anyway, so I stand by saying that al-Assad doesn't recognize Israel's right to exist, but still support him. Wow. There you go. Trump said, since we're talking about semi-endorsements before we take a break and then we hear from our friends in the American Federation of Children, Trump said there is something he agrees with al-Assad on. He called him Abdurrahman Mohammed al-Assad, wants to terminate the filibuster, and so do I. At least we have something in common. That's what he posted at Truth Social. In a separate, longer post, the president cast al-Assad's position as a warning to his own party, telling GOP senators the candidate has gone termination crazy. For our great Republican senators, friends of mine, all, please be advised that the Communist Democrat Senate candidate from Michigan, Abdurrahman Mohammed al-Assad, is touting as perhaps his single most important point the termination of the filibuster. If he succeeds, the Democrats will gain 4 senators, 8 congressmen, many electoral and popular votes, a stacked Supreme Court with 23 justices, and I will be, sadly, despite the great job we are doing, the last Republican president. There you go. All right, we got to take a short break. When we return, we're going to hear... Oh, wait. Here's a comment from a viewer. I'm going to run for president of the United States. I'm a progressive. My platform is free housing, free healthcare, free food. No one has to work. Uncontrolled chaos. No police, no Senate, no Congress. I'll be in total control. No elections. Vote for me, and you will be sorry. Oops, I mean you will not be sorry. Thank you very much. All right, we got to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to hear from the American Federation of Children about the Freedom Scholarships. So stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Hi, this is Hutzel, owner of Hesselson's in Amara Heights. At Hesselson's, we care about your well-being and overall health, whether it's relieving stress, muscle recovery, increasing circulation, or just revitalizing the body. Hesselson's now has 2 complete line of infrared and traditional rock saunas in our new and expanded showroom. Come in today and see why owning a sauna is the start of your new healthy lifestyle. Hesselson's is still locally and family-owned and operated in Amara Heights. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
We are the keepers of the wild, America's original and most invested conservationists. For more than 80 years, we've been committed to conserving wildlife and the natural landscapes that define our nation. From rugged alpine ridgelines to peaceful tall grass prairies, we've supported the conservation of more than 36 million acres of American wildlands. Our funding has led to cleaner water, fresher air, and improved wildlife habitat. From abundant fish and waterfowl populations to robust deer and elk herds, nothing is more important than maintaining wild spaces for adventurers to explore and wildlife to thrive. We are America's hunters and target shooters, stewards of the American outdoors.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio and in that studio via Zoom. Patrick, thanks so much for being on the program this morning. I can't wait to find out more about American Federation for Children. Welcome.
Yeah, great to be with you.
Okay, so the other day we had a piece that I found in the New York Post, and it said 52 million students could get Freedom Scholarships, including over $2.5 million in New York State. You know I say dollars too much when you see millions. 2.5 million individuals in New York State. So that caught my eye, and that's why I wanted to bring it to everybody's attention. So let's first start with American Federation for Children. What is that if we're not familiar?
Yeah, so we are the nation's largest voice for school choice, we like to say. So we are a school choice group that are interested in parents getting the full range of options available for their kids and their kids' educations, whether that's a great public school, a great charter school, or a great private school, making those options available across the country. So we've had a lot of success in recent years, especially since COVID. A lot of parents really woke up and found that their schools weren't doing what they thought they were, and that they needed some other options, or that school just wasn't simply a good fit or fitting their kids' needs. So we're involved across the country, kind of helping make sure that this option is available for families.
And how did you specifically get started with the organization? What made this kind of your passion, if you will?
Yeah, so I started as a third grade teacher, actually. So I was a former classroom teacher. I taught in a private school down in Florida in the early days of the Florida tax credit scholarship. So this is before, now we have 17 states where every student in the state is eligible for a private school choice program, so could attend any school of their choice. Right. At that time, there were 0 that had universal eligibility. And Florida was kind of one of these states that went ahead and said, hey, what are some options we can put in front of families? And I happen to have, about a third of my classroom were all students, very low income, attending failing public schools, who who are able to transfer into our school using this scholarship program. And I just saw that it was transformative for both my kids and their parents, kind of talking to these young parents and just hearing about some of the schools that they were coming from and just being so thankful that they could be a part of our community. And so, I ended up going back to grad school and studying these kinds of programs for a living. So got into research, worked on statistics quite a bit, and that actually kind of translated into some of my current work where I do research and offer guidance on school choice policy for AFC.
When you hear about something like this, and I want to find out more about the Freedom Scholarship, but do you find that there's ever pushback? We've talked about charter schools on this program in the past and homeschooling, things like that, and there always seems to be opposition from teachers union. Is that something that you guys deal with at the American Federation for Children?
Unfortunately, it is a recurring theme across a number of the states that we're working in. And honestly, it's a big part of why our organization exists. I think in many states, I think people don't realize that, it's not the teachers, and I'm a huge teacher advocate. Sure. It's really these political representatives who will take on interests of their own that don't necessarily are serving the interests either of their teacher members or of the school system writ large. And they have a ton of political power. Right. Depending on your state, it can be very union dominated. Mm-hmm. And there is very little toleration from sometimes one side of the aisle sure. for any of their members to step out of line on this issue. So we're a nonpartisan organization. We support Democrats and Republicans that support school choice. But it's really hard, I think, particularly for Democrats to step out of line on this issue. And they will tell us behind closed doors, we actually love this issue, that we know that there are kids in my district that would really benefit from this, but I know if I vote for this bill, I will lose my job. Wow. And so there needs to be some kind of countervailing force kind of pushing against the amount of money. We are often outspent 10-1 by teacher unions. Sure. And that's a big barrier, but this is a popular issue. And so we have the people on our side, and we hope to just bring this to as many states as possible, which we're really excited. This new education freedom tax credit at the federal level has the opportunity to bring private school choice to states that have never had it before. So that's kind of honestly a really exciting piece of it.
Right, and like when you mentioned public or school choice, it's very popular, whether it's the charter school, whatever it is. This has always been a very popular issue, and that's what surprised me, that sometimes there is a fight on this. Because when I read the article, like you said, this is for charter schools, private, but also public school.
Yeah, I mean, this tax credit in particular is really an education tax credit for all kinds of scholarships. Yeah. So the unions, when they talk about this tax credit, they will say this is a voucher program, right. which is a just completely fabricated understanding of what this even is. I mean, this is new dollars for education for, as my report details, I mean, nearly 92% of kids across the country are income eligible for this new scholarship. Wow. And that has to include vast majority of public school students and charter and private school students. But what they object to is that small slice of students who are in private schools or would like to attend a private school who also get access to these scholarships. Right. But I think over time, and I think teachers and superintendents even of public school districts are realizing, hey, there's actually a huge opportunity here for us as well, because we know there's all kinds of extra academic services and needs that aren't being met, special education, extra support for reading, for example, that you could get scholarships from local scholarship granting organizations that are funded through this tax credit to help those kids, and that's going to be in public schools. So I think 10 years from now, when this credit is fully scaled and continuing to grow, there's going to be, I think, a lot of folks are predicting it's going to be more public school students receiving scholarships through this than private school students. But I think there's a huge opportunity for private school families and also those who would seek some kind of other option to also take advantage of these scholarships as well. So I think, it's really a win-win. And in my mind, it makes no sense for governors to be hesitating on this, because they're always asking for more funding for education.
And here it is.
If funding for education is good, this should be a great new policy for you to embrace.
Yes, and let's talk about that for a minute. So education freedom tax credit. Now, as you said, the states have to sign on. And I saw this in the New York Post, like I mentioned, and you're talking about 2.5 million kids in New York State could benefit from this. Where are we at currently in New York State?
So New York State has, in terms of school choice, they have charter schools, but there's a cap on the number of those charter schools, and that has been a big political football at different times, wanting to shut some down, scale other ones. I mean, New York has some of the most successful charter schools in the country. You know, in terms of the possibilities for choice in New York, I mean, it's just incredible because many other states have come to New York to copy or to replicate the charter models that have started here. So in that sense, you can see that there's just a ton of potential for expanding this further. And there's always been these moneyed political interests that have really stood in the way of that. So, you know, I give a lot of credit in some ways for Governor Hochul going out and saying, hey, this actually just makes sense on a dollar for dollar basis for New Yorkers to opt into this program. And she has signaled that she will opt in. You know, one of the few Democrat governors who has done that, in addition to Jared Polis of Colorado, who have just basically seen, hey, this is going to be good for our system overall and good for families. And she's made that commitment. So I think it's, you know, it's up to folks in New York now to make sure that she stays true to those words. Sure. And come January 1st, 2027, that's when paperwork has to be submitted to the federal treasury to officially opt New York in and take advantage of this.
So this is when you contact the governor's office and you say, great, right? We're so proud of you for making this decision. Let's just follow through on something as simple as paperwork. Because I guess my first initial reaction was a little bit of shock that Governor Hochul was, you know, accepting of it. But I love that she's given her kind of a verbal agreement on it. So let's take this the next step.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, in my mind, this is not a partisan issue across the country, like I said. And, you know, my eligibility report kind of went through and detailed, you know, how many kids could we potentially receive a scholarship in each of these states? And there's still 20 million kids in states that have not yet signaled that they will opt in. You know, it's less than half of K-12 students in the country, but that's a huge number of kids. I think it's a wake-up call to other governors to look towards not only nearly every Republican governor at this point has said that they will jump into this, but also increasingly a number of their Democrat colleagues in governorships around the country saying, hey, this is a great opportunity for our state and for our students and honestly for the future of their state. This is not just the short run impacts of these scholarships, but think about the long run returns for your economy, not only the investments in human capital and your students, but also you know, these scholarships are going to go to organizations that are providing services, other nonprofits that are going to help drive economic growth in your state too.
Now, when it comes to kind of the time frame on this, if Governor Hochul gets the paper in on January 1st, how do students and parents get involved in it after that?
Yeah, so every state has to have an approved list of these scholarship organizations. Okay. So these are specifically nonprofits that are going to, that basically their main activity is giving scholarships. So New York actually already has a number of these.
I'm sure they do.
Been in existence for quite some time,
yeah.
Right? I mean, because they've had to.
Yeah.
Right. You can think of you know, these big organizations like Children's Scholarship Fund that has given these kind of like life-giving scholarships, especially to low-income families to have access to private schools. They have always been extremely limited by the number of philanthropic dollars that they can raise with that federal tax deduction, where you're getting, you know, maybe 15% off every dollar given. But with this new federal tax credit, it's a dollar for dollar federal tax credit back to you up to $1,700. So this is everyday working New Yorkers who give to this. Any of your federal tax liability, you will get that donation up to $1,700 right off of your federal taxes, one-to-one. So, you know, what would you rather do? Would you rather send that $1,700 to Uncle Sam and have it leave New York, or would you rather keep those dollars in New York and give that to a scholarship organization that could give a life-changing scholarship to a student in your community? I think, you know, in my mind, there's just no question that this is going to be beneficial.
Well, that's absolutely right. And that's why I'm so excited that you could be on the program. Where can people find out more, not just about the scholarships, but find out more about Federation for Children?
Yeah, you can find us online at federationforchildren.org, and the EFTC for Education Freedom Tax Credit eligibility report is up there. So that's my research work, but there's also state-specific kind of snapshots. So these fact sheets that kind of run through and say, hey, here's what the scale of the opportunity could look like in New York. And just to kind of give you a little sense of that, I mean, if just 10% of taxpayers with $1,700 worth of liability on their federal taxes give in New York, I mean, that's an additional $500 million for education in New York State. So, I mean, that's a lot of money, and that's just going to continue to grow over time as people learn about this and realize, hey, I would much rather give for students instead of giving to Uncle Sam.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That's why I'm so glad you could be on the program to tell people about this. We're just learning about it. I hope you can come maybe back on the program in the future when hopefully Governor Hochul signs on to the paperwork, and then we'll talk. How's that?
Yeah, would love to.
All right, thanks for joining us. All right, we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
Mark your calendars. The future of agriculture takes center stage at the Youth Livestock Sale, Saturday, August 22nd at the Steuben County Fair. Come support hardworking Junior Ag Society, FFA youth, and independent youths from throughout Steuben County as they auction off the animals they've raised with pride and dedication. Cattle, pigs, goats, chickens, and more. All proceeds of the sale going directly to the youth. Join us Saturday, August 22nd at the Steuben County Fairgrounds. Support the youth, build the future.
Mess is so uplifting. You see how the community rallies around us saying, we're going to fight this thing with you, no matter how long it takes or what it takes.
I love the energy at Walk MS. It is community, it is family. I can ride that high for the rest of the year.
A cure is on the line for me.
A cure is on the line for all of us.
Kids time. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
United Way fights for the health, education, and financial stability of every person in every community. Will you?
Hello, I'm meteorologist Brandon Weathers. We'll track some potential for some thunderstorms through your afternoon and evening, some of which may produce some heavy downpours. High temperature ranging from 80 to 87 across the area, and then we'll bottom out in the mid to upper 60s. 85 on Saturday, 78 in the cooler spots, with some thunderstorms for your Saturday as well. Drying out during the daytime hours Sunday, but additional storms for an
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson Studio on Market Street in Corning. I want to thank our friends from American Federation of Children. Find out more about the Freedom Scholarships, as we said. Send that letter to Governor Hochul. Let her know that we want the Freedom Scholarships. She has verbally agreed. Whether or not she fills out the paperwork is yet to be seen. All right, a couple comments from viewers. Fred writes in, I don't think that we should preemptively jump on the media proclaimed winners on election night. In every case, there should be a careful analysis of the voting process and certainly the counting process. There are now questions about the legitimacy of the New York City mayoral election due to ineligible voters. It seems that once again a conspiracy theory has turned into a spoiler alert. Was that New York City or maybe it's both, but I know there was a question about Los Angeles, the race for mayor there. Rick writes in, says, good morning, Frank. Good morning, Rick. Trump has lost his mind for sure. He says the economy is the greatest ever. So tell me honestly, listeners, is this statement about the economy true or false? False, thank you, he says. Actually, Trump claims he inherited the highest prices in history. As of August 6, 2026, prices for food, clothing, etc. is up 4.3% since he took office. Doesn't he have a statistician working for him? They should advise him to talk to them first before he runs out and lies 24/7. Then he says he might have to send oil prices up again. So that means Donald starts attacking Iran again, sells his oil stocks when they peak, and buys stocks when they lose value. I would say that is an insider. Then there's Rand Paul, another one of Trump's puppets. hardly. That's a stretch. Sorry, my chair was falling. That's a stretch. Another one of Trump's puppets pushing Fauci garbage along. I bet Don gave him a call to congratulate him on that one. But in the end, it won't go anywhere, and Trump's government will have spent more time and money for no reason other than to try to get even. Why? I mean, he said he didn't like Fauci, but I don't understand the get even part. Was Fauci? We're not talking about like James Comey. I'm confused that you think there's some type of retribution campaign from Trump on Fauci. Just curious. Kind of like injecting disinfectant into the body. Do not do that. Trump never said that. To reduce COVID symptoms. They both hurt, but don't cure anything in the end. Enjoy your weekend. All right. We've been talking about the rise of Democrat Socialists of America, and I just had this one that I wanted to mention to you, and then we've got to talk about New York State issues because I don't want to miss the New York State issues. But the nominee, Francesca Hong, that we've been having fun talking about all week. She's the one that doesn't want, or at one time hated Thanksgiving. Now she says it's because it was a celebration of colonialism or something. And now she says it's her favorite. She's running to be the next governor of Wisconsin, but she can't decide if she wants to be the Grinch who stole Thanksgiving too. And I think this Kristen Fleming raises a good point. Why are we talking about Thanksgiving in August? That's because the Democratic Party primary frontrunner, and DSA darling is embroiled in a turkey tempest of her own making. In 2020, she said it celebrated colonialism, etc., etc. She served up the mealy-mouthed answers, saying the holiday is incredibly painful for many people in our communities. How miserable. Then by Wednesday, the socialist did a U-turn so hard it left tire marks on the road. In an interview with Politico, she proclaimed, "My favorite holiday is Thanksgiving. I don't want to cancel it. I actually love it." All she was missing was a pilgrim hat made of construction paper. Hong knew she had to run back her bizarre take. Even establishment Democrats like David Axelrod mocked her, answering, "It's answers like these that can cause many people to think if this chef wins the gubernatorial primary, these may be cooked." Indeed, it was as absurd and preposterous as her original, now deleted tweet. Like her response, the U-turn, all of it was a mistake of her own making. Except for her anti-American views aren't buried deep in the ground with a bunch of other bones. They're already to the surface with a good, hard rain or a win at the ballot box. They're reflected in her CNN interview where she invoked her old kitchen job in an attempt to make her Thanksgiving slander more easy on the ears for voters. Sadly for the people of Wisconsin, it's a table she clearly wants empty on the last Thursday of November. I can assume that also means no football and no precious family gatherings. Speaking of Fauci. But then again, these surging DSA candidates can pretend they're just looking to make things more affordable for the working class. But last week, their party co-chair, Megan Romer, appeared on Fox News and explicitly laid out the party platform. They want to abolish borders, prisons, and the Senate, and there's more on top of that. Thanksgiving, that's nothing. That's just the tip of the iceberg. All right. Also, she's getting mocked because Bernie Sanders, I mentioned this yesterday, I believe, Bernie Sanders refused to endorse her. I don't think so, he said. I met Francisca a couple of years ago. I was in Wisconsin. She seemed very, very nice. But again, this is a race I'm just not that familiar with. We have gotten involved in many governor's races. We have not gotten involved in many governor's races other than recently in Maine where he endorsed Democrat Troy Jackson, who ultimately replaced Graham Plattner. That's not governor's. That's senator. Anyway. Bernie says he's not backing Francesca Hong because he focused on the Senate, said Chuck Ross. Yeah, he endorsed in mayoral races, House races, and Troy Jackson's failed governor race in Maine. Oh, I forgot that he ran governor first before taking over Graham Plattner's spot. That's how wacky Hong is. So he's endorsed in mayor's races, House races, failed governor's races, and that's how bad Hong is. Won't even endorse Hong. That says a lot. Guy with the Nazi tattoo. Hey, everyone makes a mistake. Crazy communist lady, not my cup of tea. Another person commented. So that's not the best look for her. All right, we got to take a short break. Keep those waves, keep those comments coming in. This program's moving fast. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Looking for a meaningful day trip close to home? Visit the historic Elmira Prison Camp, one of the most significant Civil War sites in the North. Walk the grounds, stand where history happened, discover powerful stories of courage, sacrifice, and survival that shaped our nation. Whether you're a history enthusiast, a family looking to learn together, or simply exploring the Finger Lakes region, we offer an experience you won't forget. Plan your visit today at elmiracivilwar.org. Preserve, discover, remember.
World Youth Clubs provides professional and technical assistance to all our affiliate clubs all around the world. We already have 44 countries that are behind us providing safe spaces for kids, but there are 160 other countries we'd like to reach out to. Yeah. Right, Rod? Exactly. We need you to help fund the World Youth Clubs and make their dream come true.
With the U.S. Department of State releasing a travel caution worldwide,
Firefighters responding to a fire alarm on Wednesday found several safety violations.
Free local pantry here and her front lawn and painted post.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Ken writes in, possibly you can clear something up for me. During my life in the construction field, I have had several bosses and layers of management. In most of my jobs, I had varying levels of contact with owners and representatives of companies we were working for. As part of my job, I was expected to do what my bosses hired me for and to be diplomatic and respectful to everyone we are working for and with. We as a nation hire politicians through the voting process. All politicians are charged with working in the best interest of all the citizens of the U.S. How has this system devolved into a system where the politicians and many citizens believe that we work for the politicians? The way I see it is that many politicians are disrespectful to people that didn't vote for them, work in their best interest instead of ours, can't work together as a team with the other side, mostly held above the law, blatantly lie to the public, spend our money without due oversight. As a nation, we allow this to happen and even treat them as superstars. How did we allow these employees to get so far out of control? What we seem to be in danger of is turning into a socialist, turning into a socialist country. Thank you, Ken. I appreciate that. It's a very good point. They do not see us as their employers. They see us as the employees. By the way, piece of Fox News, if you get a chance, we don't have a chance, but Democrats, Socialists of America need to actually meet the China they claim to love. All right, let's talk about New York State issues as we get ready to wrap up today's edition, Frankly Speaking. I think this is going to surprise you because I would have thought it was number one, but it makes sense when you read further. New Yorkers pay the third highest residential electricity prices in the country, trailing only Hawaii and California. Frustration over New York's sky-high energy costs has emerged as a top campaign issue in the governor's race, pitting Bruce Blakeman against Kathy Hochul. Third highest in the nation is not where New York should want to be on electricity prices, said the president of the Empire Center for Public Policy. If this is affordability, New Yorkers cannot afford it. New York residential electricity prices were a whopping 29.93 cents per kilowatt hour in May, based on the latest federal data. Hawaii comes in at 52 cents per kilowatt hour and California at 33.25 cents. The common billing unit for electrical energy supplied by utility, that is kilowatt hour. New York prices were 62% higher than the national average, nearly double Florida's and more than 80% higher than Texas. Electricity prices in the Empire State also rose 12% from a year earlier, twice the rate of increase for the U.S. average. And New York has jumped in the rankings from 8th highest among states last October and November to 6th highest in December to 4th in April and 3rd in May, et cetera, et cetera. So 3rd highest, trailing only Hawaii and California. All right, we got to take a break. And we're going to wrap up today's edition of Frankly Speaking. So get your last second comments in.
Small businesses are the heart of America. Like you, these entrepreneurs started out with a dream and the drive to build a better life. If you have a small business idea to grow or challenge to face, you don't have to go it alone. Since 1964, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses. Today, they are the nation's largest nonprofit source of expert mentoring, resources, and education. Whether you're starting out, building back, or have worked at it for years, SCORE will match you with specialized mentors. Our thousands of volunteers provide the guidance and connections you need for free. Your success is waiting. SCORE is ready to help. Find a mentor today at SCORE.org.
Hello, I'm meteorologist Brandon Weathers. We'll track some potential for some thunderstorms through your afternoon and evening, some of which may produce some heavy downpours. High temperature ranging from 80 to 87 across the area, and then we'll bottom out in the mid to upper 60s. 85 on Saturday, 78 in the cooler spots. with some thunderstorms for your Saturday as well. Drying out during the daytime hours Sunday, but additional storms for an active period Monday.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hasselson studio. Less than half of 3rd through 8th graders in New York State are reading proficient. Less than half of 3rd through 8th graders, to that viewer's point earlier about the education system failing in New York or in the country. Preliminary state test results show reading proficiency fell 5 points statewide, while math scores rose slightly. About 48% of students across the state were proficient in reading on the 2025 state exams administered in grades 3 through 8, down 5 percentage points year over year. Meanwhile, 57% of students passed the math exam last school year, a modest gain. The dramatic decline in reading proficiency raised eyebrows among multiple experts who noted state test scores tend to change gradually. All right, whatever. Less than half of 3rd through 8th graders in New York State read proficiently. But you know what? Governor Hochul, focusing on the important issues, signed a new law allowing licensed local cannabis businesses to sell products at community events and farmers markets. This legislation enables micro businesses to obtain cannabis showcase event permits for pop-up shops, helping them compete with larger corporations. Introduced by Democrat legislatures and the one-party rule in Albany, the measure aims to regulate regulatory hurdles for craft growers and take immediate effect. So your family-friendly farmers market may be getting a little wild. It's good to see that the governor is focused on what is most important. Now, Ellen, here's just to show you the media, how the media works. Tell me how this makes sense. Blakeman doubles down. This is Bruce Blakeman. Blakeman doubles down on his Trump Act. And then, in another piece, in race for governor, Blakeman strikes moderate tone in ads. All right, there you go. A little bit different. Ellen Kurz said President Trump used a primetime address last month to tell the country once again that our election system is full of fraud. But what this is, and this is kind of funny because we talked about this with Sheriff Allard. What Kurtz, the founder of iVote, boils this down to is, in this system in which every eligible citizen is registered to vote, it no longer becomes a weapon. Voting is easy, the default, and then we'll be taking big steps towards universal voting, which would be the real prize. So we can keep swinging at the same argument about fraud or no fraud, ID or no ID, on a loop with no end, or we can give every citizen the proof of eligibility and in exchange let the antiquated registration process fall away. The most important duty a citizen has is to cast a vote. It's a long time that we build a system that treats it that way. So just give everyone a secure voter ID. Well, that does it for today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Again, I want to thank everybody who joined us. I want to thank our friends from American Federation for Children, for Children, for joining us, for telling us all about the Freedom Scholarships. As a reminder, if you missed any of our guests this week, whether it's Mark Watts from Chemung County Fair, Joe Sempolinski, former congressman, current assemblyman, Griffin Bates, the Steuben County historian, talking about Steuben 250 coming up on September 5th, the Rotary Club talking about Summer Feast, which is August 15th, or today's guest. If you missed them, go to WYDCTV.com, and you can find them right there. There's a Frankly Speaking tab, or you can go to our YouTube page and watch it there. Next week, starting on Monday, we're going to talk with the cast of Young Frankenstein. Well, the director and a cast member of Young Frankenstein. The Elmira Little Theater is holding that musical. And then on Tuesday, the book Presidentess. We're going to be talking with the authors. It's the life of First Lady Julia Tyler. That book's coming out very soon. The first full autobiography. Final comment from a viewer before we go. Have a great weekend, Frank. Great show, Virtual Wave. Thank you. I hope you have a great weekend, everyone, as well. That does it. We'll see you Monday morning starting at 6 a.m. for Frankly Speaking, only on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
What better way to start or end every day than relaxing in your very own Hesselson's hot tub? Massage therapy, relaxation, stress reliever, pain management, soothing muscles, or just spending time with a loved one. Hot water therapy really does make every day better. Hesselson's has been a part of this great community for over 70 years, still being locally owned and operated. So make the drive to Hesselson's and start making your path to a better life today. And after 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.